Good. We want to make sure your heels are right over top of your toes. Sometimes we push back on it and we're stretching the Achilles. Nothing wrong with stretching your Achilles, but we want that vertical space. Allows us to get a little flexion in our toes. We recognize if we got any foot issues, if we've got that going on. As we come up a little higher, we want the lower half of your pelvis rolled up toward your rib cage. To do that, you can either clench your back pockets or pull up on your belly button, pull up the muscles on the front side there. We want to relax everything on the back side and use the ab to pull up and really engage that core. This should be flat and level. If we see any dipping going on in here, we want to try to eliminate that. A lot of times we'll have people who will say, hey, I feel this in my lower back. You shouldn't feel anything in your lower back if this pelvis is pulled up and under and truly engaged. We want to relax this area here. Sometimes, we sit at desks, that kind of stuff, we got a little bit of an arch going on here, so we're going to try to soften this a little bit. And what he's going to try to do is pull his shoulder blades together just a little bit more. This is going to stay level. That's going to go down. It's really hard for many of us to get that truly flat back. We got to get a little bit of rounding here. You'll also notice that his shoulder is right over top of his elbows, and his head and neck is relaxed. It's just in a nice, straight, streamlined position. Feet together, so it shows hip width apart. A little bit more. Closer.
Closer.
Yeah, there you go. So step that out again. Good, now bring them all the way in.
Yeah,
Good. So it's going to go from there. Now pull it back up, nice and flat. Tuck the pelvis. There you go. So we're in the side plank. We want to make sure that the outside of our foot is firmly planted on the floor and that our ankle is off the ground. Sometimes we let that ankle bone, that outside ankle bone, drop down to the floor. We don't want that to happen. As you're looking at the streamlined position of this plank, the hips are forward. Most of us will have a little jackknifing in our hip. As we look down, it's really not a straight line from your ankles to your shoulders. You got to make sure that's happening, and make sure that you pull those hips forward. It may feel like you're hyperextending your back. Many times when you actually are in the right position, it feels like you're hyperextending more than you really are. And then we don't want our hips to sag. We don't want them to be down toward the ground. We don't want them to be arched. When they're down toward the ground, I call that a smiley face with your body. When they're above that vertical line or that straight line from your heels to your shoulders, I call that a sad face. We want one of those just little streamlined, straight lines with your body.